Good evening, everyone. I apologize, we're just a couple of minutes late. There were some things that we absolutely had to deal with. And so I want to welcome you to our September business meeting, our first regular business meeting of the school year. Again, welcome back to all. And I'm going to ask Ms. Anaya to please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement, please.
On Thursday, January 14, 2021, notice of this meeting was mailed to the press and the Current of Egg Harbor Township. Notice was also delivered that day to the Egg Harbor Township clerk and posted on the bulletin board in Township Hall.
I forgot to bang the gavel. There it is. May we have roll call, please?
Ms. Alabarda? Here. Mrs. Byrd? Here. Mr. Delabarca?
Here.
Mr. Ireland?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan? Here. Mrs. Salagi?
Here.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Here.
And Mr. Castellano.
Here. Okay. Can we all please stand for the flag salute, please?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again, everyone, and welcome. First, I'd like to ask for a motion on our minutes, and that would be 4.1 through 4.8. May I have a motion, please?
So made.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just a note for the board, I changed Miss Alton's title for the moment of silence. It originally said retired teacher. She was actually a para and a clerk, so I did change the title. Other than that, nothing's changed.
Very good. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Miss Alabarda?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Delabarca?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Salagi?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano.
Yes. Okay, welcome everyone. We are back. We are back 100% full-time in person. And we are very happy to be back. And I want to thank our administration, I want to thank our teachers, and I want to thank all our staff for the great work that they've done to make that happen. I want to wish our students the best for this school year. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Gruccio for several reports this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Castellano, and welcome back is what it's all about
Microphone,
right now.
please.
There we go. All right. Did you get that, Tyler? Welcome, everyone, to our September board meeting. We are very excited to be back in person in school. We had a successful school opening. We're very pleased to see students and teachers in action, and what we've been working on is embracing our students and our school community. So we're really spending a lot of time on building relationships, getting to know each other, getting reacquainted with school, and things are going, for the most part, pretty well. So our opening days involved staff professional development, where our staff was involved in certain trainings on new resources and programs in our schools, and also some refreshers that they had to, go through so they're prepared for our school year. So we spent some time on that, and the staff felt confident, and we're ready to go on September 8th. Just to remind everyone, and each and every year, the Board of Education approves a mission statement and student learning goals. Our mission statement has not changed. It is embrace, engage, and educate. And I relate that to building relationships. When we embrace, when we engage, we're engaging our students in relevant learning experiences. And when we educate, we look to provide rigorous learning opportunities that are related to real-world experiences. Our district learning goals for this year are very similar. I focus on these three areas because I want them to be achieved at 100%, right? So student achievement, literacy for all. We have programs and resources in place, STREAM education and social-emotional learning to care for our students and our teachers in terms of getting reallocated with school and some of the personal issues that they have gone through. We are here to offer assistance through counseling and support systems that we have in place. Positive climate and culture and hashtag EHC Pride. Our focus this year and for the future moving forward is cultural proficiency, equity, and student agency. And we are always looking to expand our community partnerships as we build relationships with our community partners. And, I tell our teachers, let's brag about, and for our newcomers here tonight, brag about all the great things that we do. I'll reach out to the community to share the accomplishments of students, projects that they have, and also invite the community resources into the classroom so the children can learn about Egg Harbor Township. All right, so every month I present information based on those district learning goals. And under student achievement, these are some of the things that we've accomplished in the last couple weeks. I spoke to this before, that our students and teachers are embracing at this time and building relationships. We've already got word that the Presidential Environmental Education Award was presented to science teacher at the high school, Krista Delaney, an honorable mention candidate. Our kindergarten orientation took place, as well as our student reorientation. And what that was about was students who were not in school, who were those virtual students. We held opportunities in each of our schools for those students to come in and take a tour of the school, meet the administration, learn about their schedule, and get reacquainted with the school. We also held freshman orientation for the new students going to the high school. We are preparing for state testing, which is called Start Strong. Miller School begins that this week. Universal screenings going on throughout the district in the classrooms. Our RTI groups are in place. Our interventionists, which are new positions to our school district this year, are in the classrooms working hard. As far as accomplishments, our marching band took first place at the Wildwood Firemen's Parade over the weekend with an outstanding performance. And just to update you on our one-on-one technology initiative, the Chromebook rollout has begun. More recognition, the ShopRite LPGA ticket contest that we participate every year was awarded to two young ladies from the Miller School, a fourth grader and a fifth grader, and they got to meet Mel Reed, who is an LPGA champion, at a luncheon last week held at the Seaview Marriott. Here's an opportunity for students, a pre-apprenticeship program. It's going to be a virtual information session that's going to be held tomorrow night at 6 p.m. This is for Egg Harbor Township High School seniors and their parents who are interested in learning more about in-school pre-apprenticeship career opportunities. And this is a new program through a grant that we received. So I encourage anyone who's interested or know anyone who's a high school senior, parents and seniors, to take part in this great opportunity offered tomorrow night. Under climate and culture, if you're following our social media sites, we have a welcome mat where our new employees are highlighted and welcomed to Egg Harbor Township School District. Our Renaissance programs are in place with their themes, and they're starting their activities with students and staff. Many student grade level meetings are being held in our grades, particularly in our schools, particularly in the middle school and the high school, where administration and teachers meet and go over the expectations of the school. Back to school nights have started. Last night, high school held theirs. Tonight there are some, and Thursday, I know we conclude with Miller School. Tributes to 9/11 occurred throughout our schools. We have a media center, open houses, and also on social media, I want to bring light to the Throwback Thursdays, which you'll see some pictures on social media that you see right here in this boardroom. Tyler and his crew, and I talked about this a couple months ago. I said, let's highlight some history. Not everybody understands some of these buildings. They are still standing. One's even a house now, and others are being used for other areas or other businesses in the township. One is vacant, but there's a lot of history up here on the wall. So thank you, Tyler, for putting that on social media and explaining a little bit about our history here. National Anthem Project will be held on October 1st. Dr. Kadetsky and the music staff here throughout the district. We'll have students from kindergarten to high school participating at the football game, singing the national anthem. We've done this before. It's quite a sight to see, and I believe we made the world records book with participants for the national anthem project. So we even want more people participating this year. Community partnerships, we are grateful for our partnerships with Atlantic Care, who is providing us the vaccination clinics. We have another clinic coming up in October. The Egg Harbor Township Police Department for their support with some of the planning in situations that we had with traffic recently when we opened our schools. Backpack donations, Sybil Alabarda for Girl Scout project donated backpacks to our students, which was a very, very generous gesture, and also the Ocean Heights Presbyterian Church donated backpacks for our students in need. And they're just not backpacks, they were stacked with supplies as well, so it was pretty impressive. They sat in my office for a while, and they're pretty good looking backpacks. Books A Million donated 17 boxes of books along with masks to our school district, and an announcement that our #EHT Pride Festival has been postponed. So here are some school community reminders and updates that I wanted to share. Please, if you have not done so, or if you're thinking about it, please register for free and reduced lunch, okay? There's a lot of perks that come with that. So even if you feel like, there are free lunches out there right now, that everybody's provided a free lunch, that maybe your kid packs, whatever, please do register though, because there's other areas where there'll be discounts given or provisions given. So it's a great thing to be a part of. So please do apply. Job opportunities. We have job opportunities up and down throughout the district, but particularly we are in need for our Talents program, substitutes for the classroom, substitutes for the cafeteria, substitutes for transportation. We're in need of bus drivers. We're in need of paraprofessionals. So if you know anyone who's looking to be a part of the Egg Harbor Township School District, please spread the word. Our job opportunities are on our website and also on social media. Dr. Charlton posts them. But we are in need of filling positions. There is a district newsletter that I release every Monday. It's for the public, for parents to read. It gives you everything about our school district that's going on. Each one of our principals at the end have links to their schools, and they tell you, or they share with you the great things that's going on in their school. It's all framed around our student learning goals or district learning goals, and I really encourage you to read that district newsletter, all right? Also, our websites provide factual information. I will stand here and tell you I am not a fan of social media. I am totally not a fan of the negative comments and discussions and conversations that go on, particularly when you bash a great school district like this. It is disheartening, and that's part of the reason why I stand up here once a month to highlight the great things that go on here, because I will tell you there are awesome things that go on in this school district. And to remind everybody, as we start off this school year, please have a positive frame of mind, because that just makes it much more better for everyone. And yeah, do kids make mistakes, and parents make mistakes, and teachers and administrators? Humans make mistakes, okay? But I will stand there as superintendent of the school district and tell you that I will work very hard, and I work every day to make us to be the best that we can be, and to resolve any problems that we may have, because that's what I'm about. And I've always wanted to be the best at whatever I do, and I want my school district, our school district, to be the best that it can be. So I will stay positive, and I expect positive. Regarding our Swift Sleigh Ball complex drop-off pickup draft plan that I presented to the public last week, we are still working on that plan. We are looking into, different variations of that plan. Just so, but we all understand that we have kids back now, right? We have kids back full-time, right? So there's more kids. We are also experiencing an increase of enrollment. When I'm talking about kids back, we also have a full-day kindergarten program, all right? So there's more kids in the district. But I'm going to highlight the enrollment here, so the Board of Education can see just over the last couple of weeks, almost 200 new students into the district. But Mr. Santilli oversees enrollment, and he's going to explain this chart.
Okay, so as registrar, one of the things that we do is we keep a pulse on enrollment. As you can see, there's tabs down below, taking a pulse during the summer, where we were and where we're moving forward. And as Dr. Gruccio stated, one of the things that we were tracking, and if you took a look at 816 and compared it to even 917, there were almost 200 students that had registered within that time frame. One of the things that was pretty unique that jumped out at us, of course, was the fact that within those 200 students, close to 100 students were at the Swift Sleigh Ball Complex. One of the things that we did was, as you can recall, during the summer months, through social media, through flyers, and every place that would allow us to post them, we would put up open registration dates. We would certainly encourage people to register online. We have an online process now, trying to make sure that we spread the word, of course, and I'm going to use this opportunity to really reach out for your support as well in the community to make sure that we register as early as possible. It does drive a lot of our decision making in regards to staffing, transportation, and routes, and many other factors. So that was certainly an impact. And as you can see here, the difference from 816, and this is the Swift Sleigh Ball column right here, you could see that there were close to 91 students that were actually that's the difference between 816 to 917 based off of that enrollment. Now, the other thing that we had done over the summer was also open registrations were a part of that process. In the evening, we held them at a variety of schools, Miller School, at the Central Registration Office. We started that practice a number of years ago. Last year, of course, with COVID, everything remained virtual, but we got back to that this year and continued to push for that support for people to register early. In addition to that, we did go into some communities this year. We actually took the big yellow school bus, you can't miss it, and we made sure we brought it into some of our communities to make sure that we were really just lending that support for our parents that maybe couldn't make it to us, we went to them. So again, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to just ask for the community support moving forward to make sure that we register as early as possible. Don't wait till that last minute, that last week in the summer. Try to get out there early, and especially because of the fact that those decisions for us are a lot easier when we know the number of students that are going to be in those seats come September.
Okay, regarding COVID-19, I always report our status. Our district cases, as of today, have been 112 cases since July 1st. For September, the month of September, we have 76 students and staff. Our county status right now in Atlantic County is high. It's one of the highest counties in the state. The road forward, I've shared that many times. That could be found on the website on the Superintendent's Corner. What I remind everyone, and the status that we're in regarding following the guidance of the road forward, is mask wearing in schools, mask wearing correctly in schools, social distancing, sanitizing, filling out those health affirmation forms, both students and staff and parents, please, very important, and overall flexibility and understanding, because as things change and revolve and twirl around us, we have to adapt and our heads spin, but we pretty much have to follow the guidance, and that's where we are at this time. And as long as that county status is high, I'm not seeing too much change. But if we can, someday see that drop down to moderate, then perhaps we'll see some changes from the state. But these are the updates that I wanted to share. Here are some reminders, some of the things that we are dealing with. And when someone told me, you better do your holiday shopping now, put those orders in, and this way you're prepared, or you'll be given gift cards or writing checks. I asked my kids, what do you want? And they're sending me stuff, but it didn't really hit me until I come to work, and I'm starting to see some frustration and some roadblocks in terms of companies manufacturing supplies, shipping of supplies, shortage of bus drivers and substitutes nationwide. This is nationwide issues right here. Paper shortage. So we've already asked our staff to begin to conserve. okay? Paper shortage. It's going to be hard to get copy paper. Transportation parts, we heard today. We have some parts for buses that are needed. Yeah, we'll get them to you next year, okay? So we have to be creative and take maybe parts off of some sitting buses and put them on running buses so the running bus can run, all right? So this is what we're facing nationwide. It's coming closer and closer to us. So I just want to share that with our family here, that we understand that it may be a little bit of a rough road, but we're going to do the best that we can. We surely don't have a crystal ball to know what's ahead of us, but this is pretty much reality right now. Speaking about a challenge, we have a TikTok challenge that I was educated about and made aware of this weekend. And when we put two and two together, we realized that, you know, we've been victims of a TikTok challenge where students are following, I guess what you would say, a challenge on social media that involves destruction of school property. Again, a nationwide issue. I have a friend of mine in California who's an administrator, same thing. And I ask why? Why the disrespect? Because I know it wouldn't happen in one's own home. One would destroy a bathroom or personal property of their own. So that's where I become disheartened, because for those who know that our school district, we're very proud. We have great facilities. We have clean schools. We have custodians who work their backs off to keep things clean and well stocked. And a staff who is supportive of, you know, keeping the school in good order. Yeah, it's disheartening to see and hear that this could happen in our school. The principal put out a notice, the principal from the middle school and the high school, asking for parental partnership, which I think is a great idea, that if we can talk to our students and say that, you know, this is not acceptable, and we will not tolerate this behavior in our schools. Again, it's a nationwide issue. It's going on in local schools. I've talked to superintendents and principals, and they're shaking their heads too, not understanding. But I just hope that we can work together and educate and let folks know that this is it's unacceptable, it's disrespectful, and we don't want it to continue here. All right, we have it under control. I believe social media and the news has, you know, dramatized things, but we have it under control. So students, we've talked to students, we've interviewed students, we've talked to parents, and you know, we have supervision in place, which we've had, but everybody's on alert. I've contacted the faculty as in my Monday morning communications, and they're made aware of it. Some have even wrote back to me and said, whoa, I didn't know that this existed, but thank you for making me aware. So I just want to make that public statement that we will not tolerate. I am disappointed, and we have it under control. Something else that's coming up this month, next Tuesday, September 28th, at Egg Harbor Township High School at 7 o'clock is our first strategic planning meeting. For those of you who followed along, the Board of Education and our strategic plan, we concluded a 3-year strategic plan, and we're looking to create another 3 to 5 year strategic plan, and that depends on the stakeholders, how long that plan will be and what that plan entails. So if you're interested in being part of that, please join us next week at the high school. Okay, and with that, we'll show you a visual. Is this it? There we go, as I do every week, and thank you, Tyler.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Here where we need ya. Here where we need ya. Yeah, they tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back.
September. All right, that's the great things, and I invite anybody here, anybody watching, anybody here to make an appointment and spend the day with me, to come and walk around and see and hear and learn about the great positive things that happen here in the Egg Harbor Township School District. And I thank you all for your support, because those programs that are put in place, those new tennis courts, those opportunities for the band to travel, the sports teams to play, the kids to learn in the classroom, the resources that we provide for them. Again, always wanting to be the best that we can be and give our kids the very, very best whenever we can. So thank you, and my secretary will be ready to take names for appointments for walkthroughs. Enrollment. I have one more presentation, and Miss Anaya, I ask you, oops, that's what I was supposed to do. Come on down. So, for clarity reasons, and also for presentation purposes regarding our ESSER 3 money, which is money that we receive from the government to assist us with providing our students with resources to assist them academically, social-emotionally. We'll talk about 5 fields that I presented to the Board of Education through policy, through work session, through board meetings regarding the addition of these 5 fields on the side area of the Egg Harbor Township High School. There are 5 regulation fields. The timelines, just so we educate the public here that have not familiar with what I'm talking about, on May 18th, a resolution was made to submit a grant through a local recreation grant partnership with the Township of Egg Harbor Township. The township did not participate in that grant submission, but we went ahead and submitted the grant on behalf of us, the Egg Harbor Township School District. In July, at a policy meeting, I sketched out a concept and presented to the policy committee regarding an expansion of fields for many, many reasons, to relieve the fields that we have, to perhaps form a partnership at some time with the community, but to provide more space for our students for social-emotional reasons. At a work session in July, we had more discussion, and we said that we were going to seek accurate pricing on the project. On August 3rd, the policy committee met, and I stated that I'd like to move forward with the project as soon as possible. And then in September 10th, the agenda was sent to the board with background information. On the 14th, the Finance and Operation Committee chair reported that a presentation will be made at the September regular meeting. And here we are. We're looking at these fields that I present are 5 fields funded by district funds for district students, okay? The township, if want to use it, would request the space through use of facilities request. However, potential to partner for further enhancements or in the future, that would be on the township's part, okay? Also part of this proposal were playgrounds. So the board had discussion about playgrounds. So with the ESSER funding, the Swift Sleigh Ball Complex would receive a playground. The Sleigh Ball Primary Preschool would be funded a playground, and the Davenport Complex would be funded a playground. Outdoor classrooms, because the Miller School, Alder, and Fernwood would be receiving outdoor classrooms so that students can be receiving education outside in a safe and secure educational environment outside. I'll have Chandra explain the money part, because that's what she's good at.
Thank you. So the budget for all these wonderful things, so just to put it in perspective, we're getting over $10 million in ESSER 3 funding. We've been before you with ESSER 1, ESSER 2, the next phase is ESSER 3. So with over $10 million, the focus is on student learning loss as well as social emotional, giving more safer spaces, whether it's with replacement of filters or creating workspace, curricular spaces outside of the schools. So figuring on that latter point, we're looking at the 5 fields. The demolition and construction is about $1.4 million. That is on this agenda. We are going to have fencing around that area, as well as a net towards the front so that the balls stay inside and don't go into the street. Additionally, with those 5 fields, you think we need more staff. We were able to demo I don't know what to call it, so I called it the machine for GPS lining, a robot. Kim called it a robot. Basically, it takes GPS sensors and it does the lining of the fields for you, so you don't have to take a full-time staff doing that all the time, as well as a walking path around the perimeter of the fields. Additionally, as Dr. Gruccio explained, the sleigh ball primary is getting actually by October, I think their playground will be completed. That is through preschool funding. The Swift playground does exist. We'll be expanding on that. And the Davenport complex will be getting a playground as well. And outdoor classrooms for Miller and Alder and Fernwood, total being $2.5 million. And I do want to just go back up to click on the little link to show you the playground. Because this is a big question, we kept talking about ADA compliance and accessibility. So this is just a zoomed in section of the back T. All the primaries are built in like this T formation. The back corner, the rectangle boxes along the pathway represent concrete walkways or pathways for wheelchair accessibility. And the 3 we call them sections of playgrounds are in those bigger boxes. So this, and we'll have fencing around it as well so that it stays, safe from the street. So with that, that is our part 1 of ESSER for, I went to the wrong one, for the ESSER funding. It is $2.5 million. It is ESSER funding, federal funded program. The federal government recognizes this to the point where the grant we did apply for, that we were trying to merge with the township, was specifically for expanding outdoor recreation space. So it has been identified as a need for the students to keep them safe, as well as providing outdoor classroom space, so instructional space.
Oh, you're supposed to say that.
Okay. So how can we afford this? Again, we submitted the local recreation grant for $1 million. It was due in May to be determined by the state by the end of June. We are now in September. We still have not heard if we were successful. They said they had a huge volume of applicants. It's taken them much longer, so we still haven't heard yes or no. We're hoping it's a yes. And if that's the case, $1 million will be funded from that. But if we don't get the grant, we still need the space. We still have the district needs, so we're looking at how we could do it. And it's through ESSER 3 funding. And again, the allowable causes or allowable uses, providing principals and other school leaders with the resources necessary to address the needs of their individual schools. In this case, high school leadership is saying we need more space for outside, as well as the outdoor classroom areas for middle schools and playground areas. We can also use it to improve school facility repairs and improvements to enable operation of schools to reduce the risk of virus transmission. Well, we all know being outside is better than being inside with all of this and more space. So those are the 2 allowable uses referenced through this grant. So what are the next steps?
All right, so this step is a continuation of our discussions that we had over the summer in policy, work session, and board meeting. So here we are on 9/21. The board can consider awarding a bid for the fields. If they do so this evening, October and November would be when this project would start, and November, December when it would be completed and would be ready for the spring. Those playgrounds would begin in October and be ready for the spring. If we are going to wait on this, then the project would be pushed forward, and it would be not, these timelines would not be what you see. They would be pushed forward. Okay. Anything that has to do with fields, we say the fall is the time to do it so that they're ready for the spring and the summer. And with our national struggles that's going on and the issues, I'm concerned about prices going up and resources hard to get. So this is where we are. I had said that I would present to the board, the plan and where we are with it, and this is where we are. And that concludes my presentation, unless there's any questions. Mr. Castellano, I'll let you facilitate that.
Okay, I'm just going to see if any board members have questions or comments on the final portion of the presentation. Go ahead, Mrs. Burke.
I do. So I appreciate the innovation in trying to bring outdoor classrooms and adding more playgrounds for our students, adding more fields. But I question seeing this proposal and these kind of funds being asked to be approved this evening before we see how much of the funds are being used directly to academics in the classroom. These ESSER 3 funds are a gift, and having fields being presented first gives me great pause on, I'm like literally shaking right now. I don't get overly emotional up here, but I feel very emotional right now because we talk about literacy for all. We talk about student achievement. We have full-day kindergarten. We have full-day preschool. The population trends in Egg Harbor Township are in an upswing. We have developments being built. We are talking about spending $1.38 million on 5 soccer fields. That does not include the $900,000 it will cost to then put in the outdoor playground or the outdoor classrooms and the playgrounds. That's in addition to the 1.38 based on the slide we were just shown. Why aren't we using this money for improving our buildings or building classrooms to accommodate the students? Because we're running out of room as it is. And in the last 3 or 4 years in the State of the School reports, we've averaged about 43 to 44% proficiency rate in math and ELA. Why are we getting presented with asking to be spending almost $2 million on fields when we have numbers like that? Why aren't we being presented with academic needs and what they're being used for? It's a rollout issue for me. I can't in good conscience say yes to this, even if it is a great idea, until I see how we're spending money on academics in the classroom and how we're meeting the needs of our Tier 1 students, because right now we have more kids in Tier 2 and Tier 3 than they need to be. We have a Tier 1 problem, and I am having a really hard time focusing on soccer fields and all this gifted money that we have when I haven't been presented with what is the academic plan for these funds. What are we doing? I would have much preferred to have had that presentation. I am hot about this right now. Fields, yes, and we've discussed fields in policy month after month, but we discussed it in a much broader term, and it wasn't like, okay, bring us a plan, we're gonna approve it, and September we have to have it because we need it for the spring. It was, I have this great idea of working with the township, and we're gonna try to have a mixed-use facilities and try to welcome our community in. And we might have a playground there, and we might have a walking path there, and we're hoping that the township can kick in and work with us. It wasn't, we're gonna build 5 fields, and then later, address things. So it doesn't, I understand there were discussions in policy. As the policy chair, I participated in that too. But in those discussions, it wasn't, we're gonna spend all this money of, this grant money, we're gonna make the decision and we need to know now. I didn't participate in that part of the discussion. So I'm asking the board, how do we spend this kind of money when we don't know what the next plan with the academics is?
Okay, I'm gonna, and unless you want to go ahead and respond, let me just, let me get to everyone. I see Mrs. Gilbert Floyd is next.
Ms. Perez, I want to say I applaud your passion for education and for instruction. And I too think instruction and student achievement is always at the top of the list. And I guess my question is, as far as with the ESSER funds, so first of all, I'm going to say that the fact that I heard about a sleigh ball playground, Davenport and the outdoor classrooms, that part I'm definitely excited about that. I have to say that I think the sleigh ball playground's been a long time coming. And far as the academic plan, I guess my question would be, this is including the outdoor classrooms at Alder, this is including the fields, the 1.8 million is included in all of that? 1.3? I was just asking, that's all inclusive? I guess so that's what I'm asking. So then, as far as for the academic plan, the academic plan that'll be presented.
Let's,
Chandra answer?
yes, go ahead, Chandra.
I was
Let's
waiting to
just
be deferred
clarify.
to, sorry.
Yeah,
So, two parts of that answer. This is phase one because it's going to be such a huge bite next week. We wanted to, next month, we were trying to break out the two differences. So today's piece is 2.5 million. I can bring that slide back up.
Okay.
And that was for the 5 fields, the outdoor playground, as well as the outdoor classroom spaces. It was the total. But tonight's vote, as far as that question goes, is for specifically the 5 fields to agree to have that contract to start that ball rolling.
And that'd be the 1 point,
That's the 1.4 roughly, 1.398.
right. And then, so the sleigh ball playgrounds include the playgrounds, the outdoor classrooms, we'll bring it to 2.5.
I'm gonna bring it back.
Okay. And then I guess when I see that, so I guess my question is that, so will we, let's say if all this goes through and it happens, at that point, how much will we have left over for our academic plan?
About 7.6 million.
Okay.
are there any other board members at this time? Miss Alabarda, please.
Thank you.
I definitely understand our need for more fields at the high school, having a student that is in sports. I'm too a little bit, and I'll just tell you guys my concerns, and then maybe you can explain that if this is going to be in the next part, because I kind of need to know how to vote tonight. So we found out in the last week or so we have 200 new students. How is that affecting our classrooms? Are our classrooms getting too overcrowded, and can we use some of these funds to maybe make smaller class sizes to make sure our students' learning needs are being addressed? Because if we have overcrowded rooms, our teachers are not going to be able to do their best job. And right now, I mean, everything is important for the kids right now, you know, being back in school, getting education, being face-to-face. It's important. So I just kind of want to see if we have if you can give me a gist of what the plan is. And then my other question is I was wondering if you could explain what the outdoor classrooms are.
Okay. Who would like to take that? I'm going to just see if anyone would like to respond to Mrs. Alabarda before we go to any other public, board member.
She's not looking at me.
Chandra, can you please speak on the grant money?
Sure. So as far as the overcrowding or student population, grant funds are usually one-time, not for one, they're for one-time costs, not for sustainable needs like that. And I do believe if we need more staff, that's going to be that conversation separate from this grant. That's going to be something we do as a district. As far as the outdoor classroom spaces, we actually built a few. We have one, the one I think of right offhand is behind Slayball Elementary. And what that is, it's a combination of, I've gotten several proposals, but one theory is you build like almost like a wooden platform with like a pagoda type topping, with, you know, with some seating out there. We've also had just right on the lawn type seating. We've had for the younger grades like Miller, I'm thinking more of a classroom configuration where it's actually seats above that, not on the grass type seats. Think of colorful playground type style of an outdoor classroom set up there. So basically the principals are having with their committees or subcommittees to figure out what that's going to look like for their specific areas, but it won't happen until the spring, so those meetings are happening now because we can't break ground soon enough for that. So just picture outdoor instruction space for staff to go out. It could be very simple where you have multiple of them, or it could be something more complicated where you have one or two. But
Any board members, first, those that haven't spoken? Mrs. Sullivan?
Okay, it's my understanding that we're going to be spending money on the playgrounds, the outdoor classrooms, the extra fields, which we need to rotate so that our playing fields are not so damaged, which we put funds into that this year. Second of all, just like when we did our budget, I'm asking that, this is a question, just like we did with our budget, how you presented chunks each month until we saw the whole picture. Am I correct in saying that this is one chunk that rather than having a 3-hour meeting, you're giving one chunk today, and then next month will be for the money spent for education and bringing our kids, back up to being the
Yes.
top students. So
Yes.
this is part of it, of the ESSER money, and then the educational funds, which Chandra, you said, are $7.6 million we can use for education. Is that correct? Buildings or more classrooms, more books. But again, what we heard at the beginning of the meeting was how hard it is to get, I understand wood alone went up, I think it's over 300%, and it's hard finding supplies. So I believe we should get into this now, this piece, and then be patient for next month. Is that correct?
That is correct, and since it was a topic that we talked about, and that was presented, and it was discussed, that's why the presentation tonight, and I was following through on an initiative that we began to research and keep the board informed, and I respectfully let you all know tonight of a presentation of the initiative and the ideas that we had, and as promised, I would put that together. And yes, good point, we are chunking. We would never, ever put academics on the back burner. That's what we're here for. And I am disheartened that I am being accused that academics do not come first.
Do we have any other board member comment this? I think, so the time when we would really debate it would be after we have a motion and we do discussion. But now just any further questions on the presentation? Okay. Mrs.
I want to
Burke.
clarify, I'm not accusing anyone of putting academics on the back burner. What I'm saying is that this is a whole lot of money, and to not know what the whole plan is, it is hard to vote on this part. That is what I'm saying. So this is a ton of money for EHC. So what I'm saying is, like, not having the rest of the plan, it feels irresponsible to spend this kind of money. And I am the first to give credit when credit is due. And it is okay as a board member to have questions and to have opinions and ask the hard questions. That's why we're voted up here. And yes, am I passionate about it? Yes. Is my voice not so sweet? Yes, because that's how strongly I feel. This is a ton of money. And we don't have all the answers yet. We don't see the whole plan. So we trust you a lot with so much. You do a great job. But this is a ton of money. And I, for one, would like to see the big picture before I start spending it.
Do we have any more questions on the presentation? Mrs. Gilbert-Floyd?
I just want to recap real quick to make sure. So, the 1.38 is for, like we said, for the the 5 fields, and then the sleigh ball and Davenport and Swift playgrounds and the outdoor classrooms. I mean, to me, I think the playgrounds at Swift, sleigh ball, and Davenport, and I've said that before, I think they're way overdue. I think that we've talked about it. We've had, some of our special needs students, making the playground secure for them. I saw some of the pictures of the playgrounds, and I looked and I was kind of like, wow, I didn't know our playgrounds were not as child-friendly as I thought they should be. and I know we've had the conversation several times in reference to the fields. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear. The 2.5 is including the playgrounds, the outdoor, and the fields. And that will leave us with, the plan is that it will leave us with 7.5 million for the academic plan. So I guess my questions would be to the academic plan. Would the ESSER 3, these funds allow us to hire more teachers for a shortened period of time, for like, some grant-funded teachers for like, sometime the grant lasts for 2 years or what have you? We would be able to hire additional staff members for 2 years. I know that's something that has been done in other districts. I know we just shifted a lot of teachers to interventionists in the other pieces. So I guess my question is not what the academic plan is. I know we're going to go over that at the next meeting, but maybe like a little light overview would bring a little bit of clarity or relief or understanding, so maybe people feel more comfortable maybe voting on this chunk of it if they had just like a little mini, short, quick overview of what the tentative plan is. Because I don't think that the administrative team is going to go home tonight and say, well, let me come up with a plan real quick because they asked. I think that the administrative team has been working on it, and I think that they have it mapped out, and that they didn't wait until now to plan it out. I doubt that very seriously. So just a little snippet, maybe give us a little preview, like a trailer.
All right, well, first.
Sorry, that was a long version, but.
First, we want to emphasize that the outdoor fields and playgrounds and classrooms are really a part of the ecosystems of ESSER 3. So, this is a chunk, as Ms. Sullivan said. In terms of the academic piece, yes, of course, we are planning and talking about, some ideas that we have. And I'm going to let Ms. Moss share, because we had a brief discussion today about what your innovation is academically, so we can give you a little precursor.
Give you a trailer. So we have a lot of initiatives in place. So, we love our data here in Egg Harbor Township. So we're trying to see how things are going, to see how we're going to move forward. We have a lot of discussions and a lot of things that I want to do, because I love to spend a lot of money on education. So what we're looking at right now is we're tracking our enrollment, we're tracking our tier 1, 2, and 3. As you know, we're doing our universal screening. We're going to have our Start Strong results, and we're going to start looking at that implementation. I've been having meetings with our interventionists. I met with our new middle school RTI teachers today. We're really trying to monitor and see how to move forward. We just started our Science of Reading training with letters. That's also a 2-year program. We're looking at more universal screeners for dyslexia screening and how we can bring all of these things together without completely overwhelming everybody. So we have all of those things in play of how to grow all of the things that we started and how to build on them to continue to offer those services. Because I agree with what Mrs. Bird said about the tier 1 problem. However, right now we have a lot of tier 2 and 3 sitting in tier 1. So we need to do that as a team effort, which is what we're doing, and we're going to continue to monitor that. So I do have a plan for sure. We all do, all of us, all 5, and with our rest of our administrative team and the teachers giving us feedback. So we will be ready to present that to you next month. Just wanted to have a little bit off the ground so that we could come to you with actual data and information before we just start making recommendations for millions of dollars more to be spent. So that's where we are with that. I hope that was specific enough, but that's kind of where we are.
So thank you. As we're looking at adhering to relevance too. So we don't want to have wasteful spending, and to make sure that it's relevant based on the needs of our students, and the data is going to tell us what those exact needs are, whether it's resources or more teachers. We have that's yet to be determined, because we need that data, and I think that's fair to have that assessment in place.
Sorry,
Okay,
this is my last suggestion. I think this is important, and I'm just making this as a suggestion when I know you're, finalizing your plan. If there's any way that we can look to hire more actual physical teachers, even if it's for 2 years, even if it's grant funded, we have programs, we have books, but there's nothing that can replace a human body, a teacher, to be in that classroom supporting, even if they're supporting another teacher, even if you have large, and I know this is going to be like, Ms. Floyd, are you crazy? But even if we hired some instructional aides to support some of the classrooms that may be larger, we need to hire, I think we need more physical people.
Okay. Very good thought, Mrs. Sloggy.
I'm going to tag on to what Mrs. Floyd just said, because class size is a concern. And when you're making your plans with your data, if you could keep class size, because I hear that the numbers are going up, and that's a big concern.
Okay, so what we will do then is we'll have further discussion on when this comes, this particular item will come up in finance. We'll have discussion and we'll decide as a board where we're going to go. So at this point in time, we're going to switch gears and we are going to welcome our student representatives. Madeline Coyle and Lauren Wenzel. Welcome. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you very much, and we look forward to you reporting on the activities that you feel or you want us to know about, and we also want to invite you to feel free to participate and give us your thoughts at any time. So with that, the floor is yours.
Hello, I would like to start by thanking everyone for their hard work that allows us to be full-time in school right now. The high school held their back-to-school night virtually yesterday, and the middle schools had their back-to-school night the week prior. This is the first time that back-to-school night has been held virtually, and it was very informational for parents. Last week's students of the week at the high school are Andre Picardo Alvarez, nominated by Ms. Casso, and Tamara Smith Wayman, nominated by Mrs. Bent. Friday, September 17th was Constitution Day, and the high school's AP Government and Politics class did their annual reading of the preamble. That video can be found on the district's website and the social media pages. Congratulations to Mrs. Delani for being a recipient of the Presidential Innovation Award for Environmental Educators in the honorable mention category. Dr. Buccio did touch on that, but I wanted to reiterate. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., there is a virtual meeting for seniors and senior parents to learn about in-school pre-apprenticeship career opportunities at the high school. The Google Meet link can be found on the school website. Lastly, the high school has adopted a new bullying prevention program, which is aimed to foster a building-wide atmosphere of kindness and inclusion.
Hi, my name is Madeline Coyle. Just a little introduction to myself. I row crew at the high school. I'm also on the mock trial team, and I am involved in a couple of clubs. And I'm just going to go over some of the athletics that have been happening at the high school. Both field hockey and girls soccer remain undefeated currently. Girls volleyball had a big win Friday night, as well as boys and girls cross country having 3 people medal at the Cherokee Challenge this past weekend. And then our football team, which is doing amazing this year, defeated Oakcrest last Friday night, and we'll be having a game against Cherry Hill at our home field this Friday.
Very good. Thank you guys. Thank you guys both very much. What we are going to do, I'm just going to ask for order if I could. What we're going to do now is we're going to take public comment on agenda items only. So the first public comment period is just on agenda items. So folks who are here who have a comment, please come forward, give your name and address for the record. Please keep your question or comment to 3 minutes. We don't have the liberty of discussing personnel or litigation. And finally, it may be if you have a very complex question, we may need to have someone get back to you with the full answer. So with that, anyone in the audience with questions on agenda items only, will have another comment period later that will extend to any topic. Agenda item? Yes, please, come forward, give us your name and address, and make sure you have that microphone on so we can hear you.
When the light's on, is that good? Can you hear me? How about now?
There it is, perfect, thank you,
Good,
sir.
thank you. My name's John DePrato. My address is 353 Sunflower Drive, EHT. I live at the Village Grand in English Mill, and early this afternoon, we got some information concerning the 5 soccer fields. And I was surprised to see how far ahead this project is without getting comment from the folks that are going to be living within earshot of the soccer fields. Okay, I have a few questions. I had quite a few, but some were answered already. How close will the soccer fields be to the property of Village Grand and English Mill? Will the fields have lights? Will there be noise abatement taken into consideration? Will parking be restricted to EHT High School property? Will there, besides myself, will there be an opportunity for more public input? I see you had the timeline, so I won't ask that. The walking path around the field, where will that be in relation to the property? Now, I'm sure most of you might be aware that the property lines are very close to where we assume the fields are going to be. We're concerned about parking. If there's going to be lights for nighttime soccer play, we'll be concerned about that. We're kind of perplexed that this project that's so far ahead right now that we weren't given notice that this project was even going to be considered. And I'm looking at my notes now, and you've got demo scheduled for October and November. And between November and December, the fencing and the walking paths are going to be constructed. Was any consideration ever given to our residents?
Okay, I appreciate that. I think I've gotten everything here. I'm going to see either Dr. Cruccio or Ms. Anaya.
I can answer that. First of all, I would like to have your name and number so we could have a
Sure.
one-on-one discussion, and we'll get back to you tomorrow on that.
Sure.
We have been discussing this over the last few board meetings. And regarding to property lines, I know the planning board of the township has looked at the plans. So I'd like to have that further conversation with you to fill you in on
Sure.
where we are, okay? So if you could leave your name with Miss Anaya, I'd be happy to get in touch with you
Okay.
first thing in the morning. Is that fair?
Okay, good.
Thank
Well, thank you so very much for listening. We appreciate it. Okay,
Absolutely.
just a short notice. Our men's club, Dr. Guccio, you know very well, right? Yeah, we support the schools wholeheartedly. We don't want to make any hard feelings now, but we felt kind of left out. in the planning process.
Well, I'll be attending your
Understood.
breakfast on Friday.
Pardon me?
I'll be attending your breakfast on Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm have to make sure I'll be there
Yeah, I
then.
hope so, yeah.
But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I mean, in the past,
You're
Dr. Grucia, you've been very good to us, so.
I know.
So, okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Sorry about the time.
Very good. Anyone else with questions or comments on agenda items, please? Okay, seeing none. Seeing no further, we are next going to move into finance and operations. And first, I'm going to ask for a motion on 8.1 through 8.19.
Second.
Okay, now I'll ask if there's any discussion.
Mr. Castellano, I have 8.20 as the last item. Just to make sure we all have the same.
Okay. Eight point one through 8.20. Okay. Can we amend that motion? 8.1 through 8.20.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on our finance and operations agenda?
I would like to ask that we pull 8.17 and allow for the opportunity of that community to voice their concerns, and also for us to see what the plan is for the remainder of that funding.
Any other comments? What is the pleasure of the board on 8.17? Okay, we're going to proceed with our vote.
Ms. Alabarda?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes to everything but 8.17.
Mr. Delabarka?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes, but 8.17, it's contingent on public use as discussed in executive session.
I don't
What was that last part?
believe we can vote that way, Mrs.
Yes, Miss Amy Alco, can we?
So I think what he's saying is he's just confirming his understanding of the use. So he's voting yes with the understanding of what the use is for. So he's just clarifying his vote.
Exactly.
He said yes, he's clarifying his vote, he's just putting in the record what his understanding is.
Okay, continue.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
Mr. Castellano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we made through the finance agenda, and it was a bit difficult. I think it's important for us to keep in mind, having done this job for 20 years now, I've learned that providing a good education for our students has many components. Academics is always first and foremost. That's not a question. But part of our academics includes both physical education, health education, and part of our students' education includes co-curricular activities. That's athletics, that's music, that's the arts, that's our clubs, that's our service organizations, and many other things. We always strive for the right balance of all those things coming together to provide our students with the best total, well-rounded education, because those activities outside of the classroom help our students to succeed in the classroom and beyond as they go on to whatever it is they choose to do once they leave us. So it's important that we remember that we have a responsibility to the whole student. And there's certainly room for legitimate questions and debate over just what those percentages and amounts are. I think we all want the same things for our students and for our community. And I think we are going to see it all play out in its totality over the course of the next several meetings. So with that, I'm going to move to curriculum. May I have a motion on 9.1 through 9.2, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, may we have roll call?
Ms. Alabarda?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Delabarka?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes. Yes.
There you go. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi is not present at the time. Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Okay, moving to personnel. May I have a motion on 10.1 through 10.7, please? Is there any discussion on personnel? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Ms. Alabarda?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Delabarka?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Solagi? Not present, sorry. Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
I was gonna try to get 2 votes now. Yes.
And Mr. Castellano?
Yes. And now at this time, Dr. Gruccio, will you please introduce our newest employees to the Egg Harbor Township School District?
Sure will, Mr. Castellano. It's my pleasure to introduce to you, the public, for the first time, employees just approved by the Board of Education to serve our students in our school district, and a very proud school district. I present to you Kayla French, special education teacher, multiple disabled, Davenport. Stephen Cohen, special education teacher, MD at the high school. Brooke Tomey, safety specialist, district office. Sarah Veriusicorn is a ratio paraprofessional at Alder. Asia Stowe, MD program paraprofessional, Davenport. Devin Jinaben Patel, ND paraprofessional, Davenport. Latoya Gunter, compliance paraprofessional, Miller School. Clarissa Hernandez Ortiz, MD program paraprofessional, Davenport. Susan De La Cruz, MD paraprofessional, Davenport. Christine Carnuck, MD paraprofessional, Davenport. Jamie Stone, ratio paraprofessional, Miller School. Jessica Harris, MD program paraprofessional, Miller School. Also at the Miller School, Megan Doyle, MD paraprofessional. Samantha Nguyen, LLD program, paraprofessional, Miller School. Chloe Mayes, racial paraprofessional, Alder. Artyom Graham, MD paraprofessional, Alder. Joseph Zamito, MD paraprofessional at the high school. Fogani Dave, ratio paraprofessional, promoted from part-time to full-time, Miller School. Nicole Strauss, ratio paraprofessional, also promoted from part-time to full-time at the Alder Avenue Middle School. Winnie May, Talons support staff, Miller School. Jeremy Table, grounds in our facility department. And a 10-month assistant principal at Alder Avenue Middle School, Sharon Flynn. All right, welcome everyone and congratulations. We went a little later than we usually do for personnel introductions, but I thank you for staying and listening and being part of our meeting. But at this time, if you would like to resume the rest of your night elsewhere, congratulations again, and you are free to depart.
Thank you all very much. Okay, board members, we're now going to move to policy, and if I could have a motion on 11.1 through 11.8, please.
So made.
Second.
Ooh.
Is there any discussion? Mrs. Sullivan?
I'm wondering if we did have a chance, I don't see it listed here, were we able to do anything about the homeschool sports this week, this past week? We were going to do that in policy or?
Yes, we did. There are actually 3 policies that are involved with doing that, and because of the extensiveness and because of the research that we have to put into it, we are going to add it to our October policy agenda.
It's our intent to change that policy as soon as possible to allow for middle school participation. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Alabarda?
Yes.
Mrs. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Delabarka?
Yes.
Mr. Ireland?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
No to policy 11.2 and yes to the rest?
Mrs. Solagi?
No to 11.2, yes to the rest.
Mrs. Gilbert Floyd?
Just yes.
Mr. Castellano?
Yes. Okay, thank you. We're going to move into communications. We have an updated board calendar. Please be mindful of our strategic planning dates. A couple of reports tonight. I guess I want to see who would like to go first, Mr. Delabarka or Mrs. Byrd.
Yeah, I was going to introduce Mrs. Bird, so we'll go from there.
Good. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Delabarka first.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And we'll go from there.
Board members, thank you so much for dismissing my audience this evening. Yeah, we're right. Mr. Ireland and I participated yesterday in the New Jersey School Board Association County Leaders WebEx meeting. The basic gist of the meeting was we had a discussion concerning the statewide concerns over the shortages in bus drivers, substitutes and nurses. That's statewide. Of course, we also mentioned actually a national concern. One of the suggestions was, and it's happening in some of this in Massachusetts, I believe already, and in Philadelphia, is to use the National Guard to help drive buses. So that's a consideration. And that came up yesterday in discussion also. I think Mr. Ireland did find out that they do have the S on their license so they can drive school buses, because that was a concern. Am I right? Yeah. Because I know that came up in discussion yesterday. There was an uncertainty yesterday. The remainder of the meeting yesterday was actually a discussion of the future county hybrid meetings that are coming up in the rest of the year and how they're going to be conducted. And our first meeting for our county hybrid meeting is October 20th. And the biggest concern is registration. When all of you board members get your registration notice, please make a decision fairly quickly as to whether you plan to attend in person or to be attending virtually. Because the concern is if some people have been waiting to the last minute to make the registration, and that's very hard for the people with all the, on the computer side to make sure, especially if it means going to the place where the dinner is served, that they have the right amount of numbers there for that concern. So that was an issue that being discussed. And the other issue was new board members, not only here but around the state, who over the last 2 years really haven't had a full orientation to New Jersey School Boards Association due to COVID. They did have a little bit of an orientation, but not the big 2-day weekend that most of us have attended in the past. So they're trying to come up with ways for the new members that are going to be elected this year to have a more detailed full-time orientation so they understand what New Jersey School Board is like and how they can participate more fully in the New Jersey School Board's activities. The other point that I mentioned again last week is we do have our the New Jersey School Board's workshop is virtual, and it's October 26th through 28th, and all of us are registered, as I said last week, so please participate in that. And I believe that's all for yesterday's meeting, and I appreciate you listening, and hopefully we can have a good attendance at the county meeting. It seems to be that, and hopefully this is different for Atlantic County, but it seems to be the virtual attendance is much higher than the in-person, and you all understand why with concerns about COVID. But it's at the Atlantic City Country Club again this year, and hopefully we have a good attendance. So thank you for listening, and I will report again next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Della Barca, and we always appreciate
I forgot to
your
introduce
efforts.
Mrs. Bird. I apologize.
Right, that's fine. I was just going to say
Mrs. Bird and Mr. Castellano actually had participated in the New Jersey School Boards Association Legislative Committee last Saturday, and Mrs. Bird, I believe, are going to give a summary to us of that meeting.
Nope. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Also, in addition to Mr. Castellano and myself, Mr. Ireland was also virtually present along with us. The keynote speaker on Saturday the 18th was Deborah Cornavaca. She serves as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Outreach under our governor. Her key speaking points centered around what Mr. Della Barca already commented on, bus driver shortages and how Massachusetts is enlisting their National Guard to help fill some of the void. One additional comment that we heard about was the governor wants to hear if we do have bus drivers trying to get to make appointments with the DMV for their CDL. If they aren't getting appointments within 24 hours, the governor's office wants to know, because they have an initiative that they want to get these drivers on the road and taking their tests. So they want a direct line from districts for that. Another point she made was that this ESSA funding, all our spending needs to be on sustainable practices because the funding will dry up. She made that point, making sure, cautioning districts to make sure that the spending is on things that can be sustained post the funding. As far as legislation, NJSBA lobbied heavily to put their imprint on special education aging out law. That law has successfully been passed and it has been enacted. NJSBA also lobbied very heavily on a grade retention law. The law has been passed, but thanks to NJSBA's lobbying, rather than a parent being able to demand a student be retained based on learning loss, districts also have input in that decision making. So that law was enacted with that caveat. Another current law that has been enacted, which we are very grateful for because we have substitute teaching shortage, is the easing of standards to become a substitute teacher. Rather than 60 college credits, it's been reduced to 30 semester hour credits to serve as a substitute. So hopefully our substitute company can take advantage of that. I'm sure they're working very hard. As far as legislation that's currently sitting on the governor's desk. I pulled one. I think teachers will be excited. There's a loan redemption proposal, establishing loan redemption program for teachers in certain fields to redeem loan amounts received under New Jersey college loans to assist state students loan program through employment in certain low-performing schools. So that's a highlight. That's waiting signature on the governor's desk. There's also a student depression screenings it may be mandated. That's awaiting the governor's signature. And finally, there's legislation addressing school nurse shortages. Just like bus drivers, just like substitutes, there's also a school nurse shortage, and there's legislation awaiting signatures from the governor. There is a full report available for board members in our email and also on the NJSBA site if anyone wants to take Saturday night and read about legislation that's pending. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Castellano, I
Yes.
just want to mention that Mr. Ireland's also a member of your committee and attended the session on Saturday.
Yes.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you both for those reports. And yes, we have nothing better to do on our Saturday mornings. At this time, we're going to open back up public question or comment on any topic. If anyone has anything, please come forward. Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to ask board members. Any comments from board members? Mrs. Solagi.
It's not really a comment, it's a couple questions about the substitutes with 30 credits. Who trains them? Do we train them or does Kelly Services train them?
Dr. Charlton can shed some light on that. I mean, I think it's a combination of both, but Terry, could you just answer Mrs. Solagi and share with the board the process of training for substitutes, particularly now we're going from the 60 to the 30 credits. I don't know if that really has anything to do with it, but the training perspective.
Oh, there we go. This one's working. So for substitute staff, Kelly Training does do the training for the substitute staff because if you think about a per diem substitute, they will come into different buildings. They use a program called Safe Schools, which is a program that a lot of districts around the state do use for their training. Okay, so obviously, with the level of COVID, they're not always in-person training right now, but they go through all of the same type of workshops that our staff would go through. But Safe Schools is the program that they use, similar to what we use in our district, Public School Works.
Okay. My other question is, does Kelly Services still provide the teachers their top 3 choices for who's going to replace them?
It used to be called, I think, the Favorite 5.
Yes.
Something like that. They do not do that program anymore. But a teacher can request when they put in through ASOP, they request the teacher that they want to cover them, and then we enter that directly into the vacancy.
And that's through ASOP, not through Kelly Services?
Through ASOP, correct. We take care of that, and the attendance specialist in my department takes care of that.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Board members? Any other comments? Mrs. Gilbert-Floyd.
I just want to make sure, so Kelly Services, we utilize them for our substitutes, right? So, and then paraprofessionals as well? Or that's a separate?
Yeah, Kelly provides both paraprofessionals and the teachers.
Okay, so is there any requirement change for the paraprofessionals? Is it going to affect them?
Correct, they go through the training as well. Yeah, and what Dr. Grigio was mentioning, the 30 versus 60 credits, the state passed a law where it used to be 60 credits that you would need for a substitute certificate. For example, like our students that went off to college would need to finish their sophomore year before they could sub. A law was passed that they could now be a substitute with 30 credits. It's still becoming operational from Trenton down to the county offices where they actually do the applications for substitute certificates. So it's still kind of in process, but yes, that law is passed.
Oh, I understand that. I was asking, is there any effect on the paraprofessional requirements?
Oh, I'm sorry, paraprofessionals do not fall
No.
under the 60 credit requirement. So for example, if you have a high school diploma, then you qualify to be a substitute paraprofessional.
So they're just still the same, high school diploma, and that's it?
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mrs.
One-
Gilbert Floyd.
One last, I'm sorry. So I see that we have new student reps and, new student reps. And I think I know they traditionally, they read their reports and that's it, which I think is great because I think it gives us a kind of a picture of what's going on at the high school, our sports, academics, and different things of that nature. And I just, I feel like the student reps have always been kind of like Switzerland, just neutral. And I just think that I'm sure not the display, but the interaction and the, passion that you saw flying in the room tonight amongst board members and no, it's okay. No passion. Hey, listen, it's all good. But what I'm saying is, the back and forth and the just, the passion that you saw tonight, I think that, I just think that having student representatives see that and also to have their input as a student is really important, and never to put them on the spot or have them express their opinions about anything. But I definitely think as the board, we should take advantage of having students from the high school almost kind of at our fingertips to have access to, hey, how's it going? How's it feel? What have you? I think that we should just look at a way that we can have a safe conversation with our student reps. That's all.
Agreed, and as I say this to student reps every year, and as Mrs. Gilbert Floyd said, we will never put you on the spot, but please feel free to weigh in if the spirit moves you. So I'll look, any other board members or administration? Seeing none, I'll ask for that motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. Thank you all very much. It was a long meeting, but a productive meeting. We will see you in October.